Okay, welcome back. This is going to be a big one. We are going to tear into the engine today. So I want to do timing cover, water pump. I want to do thermostat, accessory drive. I want to get in and do vacuum lines, fuel injectors. At least get them clean. There's a ton of stuff that I want to do to get this thing to run. So hopefully this will all fit in one video, or maybe we'll split it up into two shorter ones. I don't really know, but all I know is I've been stalling long enough. It's time to tear this thing apart and make it run. I thought I'd drain the radiator, but obviously I forgot. So while we're waiting for that to drain, I wanted to kind of go over some of my plans for this thing. So you know, we're trying just to build a reliable driver, but at the same time we never heard it run. So there's some stuff I'm gonna do, and there's some stuff I'm not gonna do. I know it needed a fuel pump. We got it to kick the life by just dumping gas down its throat. So I know like the ignition system works. We don't know what kind of condition the fuel injectors are in. We don't know what kind of condition, you know, I haven't had the distributor cap off yet. I haven't even pulled the dipstick, actually. I should probably do that. You know, you can see that the coolant is pretty crusty here. So it needs a pretty good, that needs to be flushed. We'll worry about that one at a later date. I think I'm going to pull the intake just so I can get down to the fuel rail, because I don't know, for all we know, the fuel injectors are all varnished up and gunky, and I'm not sure. And I really don't want to go through the effort of getting this thing on the road, only to find out that I got to do the fuel injectors anyway. So we might pull the intake off too, just as preventive maintenance. There's a couple other things I want to do though. While we're in here, while the accessory drive is all apart and everything, and one of them is getting rid of this 2G alternator. So these things were known back in the day for starting fires. It's why when you buy a new one, it comes with a pigtail, because the original plugs, I guess they decided they were defective or something. It was burning cars, trucks to the ground, not even running. You just come home from work and your garage would be on fire because the alternator would have went up in flames. So this thing is, that's gone. We are going to switch to the 3G alternator, and it's a pretty easy swap, but we'll go into that later on. The other thing I want to do is the power steering pump. You know, this is your Ford C2 power steering pump, also known as the, you know, your typical squeaky Ford pump. So that is going right in the trash, and we're going to get rid of that. I actually have a over here on the bench full of parts. I have the bracket for the Saginaw power steering pump. This is off of an Econoline. I've obviously already cleaned it all up, and it's good to go. So I got the bracket, I got the pump, I got the pulley, I got the hose, everything we need to do the swap. And I think we're going to add a proper power steering cooler at the same time, but we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. You can see I have a accessory drive here for this might actually interchange. We're gonna compare the two later once I get that one off. But here's your 3G alternator. I'm just gonna use that as a core. But maybe we're gonna modify our bracket to fit the 3G, or maybe we're gonna use this one. We'll sort that one out later. For now, I think I'm just going to wait for this to finish draining, and then I can yank the radiator out. Yeah, give me the damn hose. Okay, there we go. Gotcha. Okay. All right, radiator's out now. Even if I wasn't planning on replacing it, I am, because I don't want the little radiator in there anyway. So that thing was going, whether it was good or not. So accessory drive is completely out now. Got pretty lucky. I was a little nervous because like this one is pretty corroded, but actually that all came apart. So hopefully we continue to have good luck, although now that I've said that, I'm sure I just jinxed myself. But We're about out of time for the day, but I still want to try and get the water pump and the crank pulley off. So I'm going to go grab the ratchet and see if I can't bang. Hopefully this goes well and I can get this done, but we'll see. Water pump is off. All the connections look like crap, but interestingly enough, the back plate looks really good. So I was kind of expecting this thing to be all rotted out from sitting for years, but yeah, so far so good. Balancer's off now as well, so all we got left to do now is get this timing cover off, and I think that will be enough for one day. So let me set this thing down, get them last couple bolts out, and we'll get this cover off. All right, there we have it, man, stripped down. So timing chain is super loose. So I'm glad we decided to take the time and do this now. So cooling passages are actually pretty clean. Like I thought they'd be all crudded up from sitting, but they're actually really clean. Even the antifreeze that came out of the motor, which you probably can't see on the video, it actually came out pretty clean. Like you know, I drained the oil came out clean. I'm waiting for something to go horribly wrong, but so far we're having pretty good luck, so which is not usual for me, but that's pretty cool. So I would say the next thing to do is we're gonna throw that timing cover or change the timing chain, but I have a mess, man. There's parts all over the place, there's stuff all over the floor, workbench is a mess. So I think I'm just gonna stop here. I need to get that thing in the parts washer, and I want to get it cleaned. And my accessory drive, this thing looks pretty gross, so I'm gonna knock the smog pump off and clean this thing up and make her look pretty before we go to put it back on, because you know, hopefully I can get all this done today, because you know, my goal for tomorrow is just come home from work, throw the chain on it, and just start putting the motor back together. So hopefully everything goes too well, but I guess we'll find out tomorrow. Alright, so I got the front of the motor all cleaned up, new chain is installed. I got my timing cover all cleaned up, ready to go, new seal. I ordered the kit with the repair sleeve, which actually I think was a good call, because you can kind of see there's a pretty good groove worn into this thing. So I'm going to get the repair sleeve installed on that, and then we're going to get the front of this motor back together. Alright, timing cover and water pump are now done. I totally jinxed myself the other day. The very next bolt I went to touch, which was for the thermostat housing, instantly snapped off in my hand. So that was cool. I had to extract that. But got that done. Went to put the timing cover back on after the new chain was on. And yeah, cool. The timing cover gasket was not in the timing cover gasket set. So I had to order another gasket set and wait for that to come in. But it's all sorted now, all back together. So I'm going to throw a thermostat on, and then we're going to get this accessory drive back together and done. Okay, accessory drive is all back on now. We have our Saginaw swap done. We have our 3G conversion done. I'll talk about those in greater detail in another video. I want to pull the plenum off. I keep finding dry rotted vacuum lines everywhere, so I think I'm just going to pull that and rip the entire vacuum system off the motor and replace, I don't know, probably everything. Who knows? Everything I find bad. So a whole lot of boring work coming on. So I'm just gonna rip into this, and I'll come back once I got something worthy of video on. Well, I guess it was a good thing we pulled the plenum off, huh? All right, I got all 8 fuel injectors out. These things are gross, man. Pintle caps actually came off of 3 of them when I pulled them off the rail. But like seriously, like my whole entire garage reeks of varnish. It's awful. So I got rebuild kits on order for these things. So I'm just gonna let them soak in fuel injected cleaner until rebuild kits come, and hopefully we can get them working good as new, because I would prefer not to replace them. Fuel injectors are a little more expensive than they used to be. So I'm hoping, you know, a couple days soaking, these things will clean up and work good as new. So we'll see what happens. All right, we're back. It's been a couple days. These things were just soaking over the weekend, and now I just got them propped up to let the fuel injector cleaner drain out of them. I got a whole rebuild kit here, new O-rings, pintle caps, spacers, filters, the whole 9 yards. So I'm gonna show you how to rebuild these things. It's a piece of cake. But first thing I want to do is I want to make sure they actually work, because, you know, once again, you know, we never actually heard it run under its own power. So I have a pigtail here out of a junk wiring harness just from over on the shelf, and we're just going to hook plus 12 up, and I want to see if I can hear the solenoids click, which I do. Okay, so I'm going to run through all 8 real quick, just make sure they're all good, and then we'll tear in and start rebuilding them. All right, as expected, all the fuel injector solenoids sound good, so now it's just a matter of pulling these things apart so we can rebuild them. So you know, obviously some of mine lost the pintle caps in the intake, which I have to fish out yet. The rest of them we're gonna have to get these things off, and they are they're on there to stay. They don't like to come off, and you're gonna wreck them when they come off. So not much of a choice here except to just get in here and kind of bust them up a little bit and pop it off. Almost there. Oop, almost there. Whoop. Come on. Okay, there we go. So that pintle cap is off. We can pull our O-ring off. We can pull our spacer off. And then on the back side here, this O-ring comes off. So we're going to replace this one as well. Okay, and then it's just a matter of getting that screen out of there. And that's actually where this little screw comes in. We're just going to kind of screw this guy in here. Don't go too far. That's probably plenty. And then in the vise, there you go. Screen is out, piece of cake. So here's our, I should probably get that off the screw. Okay, here's our old screen. And here's our new screen. So this guy is a press fit in here. So, and I just got to set this in place. There you go. That's now seated. So grab an O-ring, we'll dab a little bit of motor oil on it, and that end's done. So all we got to do here is plastic spacer, O-ring, and then we can take our new pintle cap and we got to snap this bad boy on there. So one click, but notice it's a little well, the O-ring's a little sloppy, so I'm kind of just gonna, there we go. Now look at that. Now it's seated up tight against the injector. The O-ring is nice and snug. That's it. Literally, that's it, man. Injectors are rebuilt. So I'm just gonna rebuild the rest of them, and then go back under the hood, clean my intake, and we put the fuel rail back. Put the fuel rail back on the truck. Fuel injectors are in. Fuel rails in. Got a new fuel pressure regulator installed. The original appears to be the original from Ford from 1990 probably. So swapped that one just in case. I got a new ECT installed, and I swapped the IAT as well because this thing is, that's pretty gross. So I think I'm going to do spark plugs next. It'd just be easier to get to the passenger side with the plenum off. So swap plugs, and I don't know, maybe we'll put the, maybe we'll do the plenum then and finish the rest of the top end. Plugs are out. Interestingly enough, they are all basically new. I don't know if this is focusing or not, but there's almost no wear in any of these plugs. They all look basically brand new. Same thing with the plug wires. Like they look, they're kind of like Velvet. I don't know who makes them, but they're kind of junky, but they don't look old. You know, it only furthers to cement my theory that this guy was maintaining this truck right up to the day he parked it, put it out to pasture. But moving on, I've got a new set of Motorcraft plugs. I got MSD coil, Ford Racing 9mm wires, and a new cap and rotor. We're going to bump the gap on the plugs a little bit. OEM would be 42 thou. We're going to go 50, maybe 55. I don't know if we're going to get that aggressive or not, but the MSD coil makes a ton more power than the OEM coil does, so that should be more than enough to let me open the gap up, and then we'll tweak the timing a little bit once we get it running. But for now, I'm going to get these things regapped, and I'm going to get them in, and then we can move on and we can look at the plenum. I'll show you what we're going to do to correct the PCV plumbing. All right, so I pulled the throttle body off. I cleaned it all up. We got a new IAC on there because it was original from 1990, presumably. I got a new EGR, new EVR, so everything there is all cleaned up. So the only thing left to do before we put the plenum back on is to deal with the PCV valve. So originally this would have been installed kind of like so, and with this going right into the grommet in the valve cover. Now it seemed like a good idea, I suppose, to kind of just disperse the oil mist here, but all that ended up happening was all the oil mist was going to the number 8 cylinder, and in the 302s there was actually a recall for it. I think I mentioned this already. There was a recall for it because number 8 was seeing all the oil and they were running the motors. So in the later model trucks, I'm not sure what year they switched it, but I do know on my 96 it doesn't go here at all. It actually goes up here, and Ford had made a fancy molded hose that wraps around. So we're basically going to do the same thing. Our new PCV valve actually is the same size as this little elbow that goes into the valve cover. So we're just going to throw that in, and then I've got some 3/8 hose left over from some kind of project, I don't know what, but all we're going to do is just plunk that in the valve cover, and then this is just going to come around and loop in. I've got another vacuum fitting from who knows what motor, don't know, but all we're going to do is we're just going to pull that one out. This was originally for the fuel pressure regulator. So we're just going to pull that out, put this one in, and then we'll reroute the fuel pressure regulator to come over to this main T. There's already extra unused fittings, so it doesn't matter, piece of cake, and that should solve any of our oil problems. So this we'll just get rid of, and I'll just throw this pipe plug in there, and then that's it, man. Problem solved. So I'm gonna get these fittings swapped around, and then we're gonna get this on the engine. Dude, I think we're making pretty good progress here, man. Whole top of the engine's together. I'm still missing, I did spark plugs already, they're all done. I haven't done wires, cap, or rotor yet. I'm gonna get to them shortly. I think I'm gonna mess with the vacuum system today. I wanna get the lines basically finished. This one is rotted out, so I need to fix that one. But I don't have anything here. I have nothing for my EGRs. There's nothing for the fuel pressure regulator. Brake booster lines laying over there, but these were all them plastic lines. So I have it mostly done. This is mostly cleaned up and fixed. Some of this stuff, this was broken in here. This has been all fixed and the loom put back together again. I have to fix this one. This is the line for the EGR. So here's your EGR solenoid, and then this goes to the EGR itself. So this is just so brittle, it's just snapping off. So I do have some replacement tubing from Dorman because the plastic stuff actually works pretty good. I mean, let's be honest, it took 30 years for this to rot and break. So I'm going to repair that line and then put this back together. But this is realistically, this is basically it. There isn't a whole lot going on here. That's vacuum canister, that's plenum, fuel pressure regulator, and then this couples in here, and that's in and out for the EGR. So there's really not a whole lot of lines here. I just gotta fix this one up, and then we'll get this all re-loomed, and we'll get it back up on the engine. Okay, so maybe this is a good idea, maybe it's not. This is the line that goes to the EVR, and it's super brittle. It's just crumbling. There's nothing left of it. I got to replace most of it. So I have this tubing from Dorman, and it's a little small to fit the original boots. And the original boots have like these lines have a barb on them, so they key into the boot. So I came up with this idea. Maybe it's a good idea, maybe it's not, we'll see. But I have a small piece of the original tubing in here, and then this is a piece of just regular vacuum hose. And I think what I'm gonna do, this is adhesive lined 3-to-1 shrink sleeve. I'm gonna slip this over and shrink it down over top of here. And this is already a pretty tight fit on the plastic tubing, but I I'm figuring throw this over, shrink it down, let the glue do its job, and man, if that's not a good enough repair on the vacuum line, like I don't know what else I would do. So we're gonna give it a shot. We'll see if this works. So I think that's gonna work pretty good. It's pulling up pretty tight. You can kind of see like the glue all squirting out and stuff. So I think that's gonna do pretty good. Like I said, this will be for the EGR. So this guy will be right here on top of the motor. So I kind of wanted to make sure that was a good one, good connection. We have other stuff we have to fix that I just saw, like this one's broken. And Ford kind of just routed this one over the plenum, which I think is kind of dumb and sloppy. So we might, you know, here's the lines coming from the vacuum canister. So we might redo this one and come down in here. That way we can loom them all together and make it look pretty. I got to move the map sensor. I don't know. I was thinking this was fuel pressure regulator. It's not. That's where the map sensor goes. So I'm either going to move that over here, or I'm going to replumb. I would rather have this in the middle of the plenum. So I think I'm going to replumb the map sensor to come over here. We'll sort that one out. But you can see like the rest of this is all good now. You know, EGR solenoid's all hooked up and fuel pressure regulator and everything. So going along pretty good. Just a couple little more loose ends that we got to button up here, and we can check this one off the list. So I was tinkering with this thing yesterday, and I've just about got everything left done. So the whole tune-up is done, cap, plugs, wires. You know, we got our new MSD coil done. I got all the vacuum lines fixed. These are all rerouted nice and neat behind the plenum. That one's fixed over there. Electrical is all done just about anyways. Our battery cables are totally shot, so they got to get replaced here shortly. I'm about ready to put a radiator in and do fan shroud and all that stuff, but since we've changed the accessory drive up, this is a combination of pieces that never came together like this in a vehicle. So, you know, Saginaw pump, fine, that's running the Econoline belt, but then it didn't come with this alternator. And then when they did the 3G in the trucks, it wasn't this. In the vans, it wouldn't have been this style. So long story short, we have to measure for a new belt. That's actually why I have this pulley on without the fan clutch for now. So I'm gonna put this camera over to the side a little bit, and we're gonna grab something, and I'll show you how we're gonna measure to figure out what belt we need. I think we're just gonna use a piece of wire. Wire doesn't stretch, so this should give me a pretty accurate reading. We're going to measure it with the tensioner all the way, because I need to see absolute maximum length for the belt. So first thing I'm gonna do is get this thing wrapped around, and we will see exactly how long the belt can be and still hold. So we get this routed, guys, here, here. And then right there. Okay. Let me go see what this measurement comes out. Our maximum measurement, which was 90.5. Not where we want to be, of course, because there'll be no real tension on the belt. So now I'm going to do the same thing again, and we're going to see what the length is now, and that will tell us how short the belt can be and still fit on the trunk. And once I get that measurement, we will compare the two and figure out what length belt we actually want to run on this truck. Shit. All right, I have my measurements for the SERP belt now. It's looking like it's going to be 83 inches at the absolute minimum and 85 and a half at the absolute maximum. Obviously, we don't want to be anywhere near max, so I think I'm gonna shoot for 84. So I'm actually about to head out the door. I'm going to run over to Napa, see what they have in that length, and so I can test fit on the motor and see what's going to fit. This way we can get, I can actually get the fan clutch on and get the radiator in and all that stuff. So, but I think this is where we're going to call it for this video. I feel like this is getting pretty long. There's actually a decent enough amount of loose ends that I need to tie up that this video would just run on forever. So next video is going to be finishing up the cooling system. I have to get my transmission cooler plumbed because it's installed but nothing's run yet. I needed the radiator in to do that. We got to do the whole fuel system. The tank was totally rotted out, so I got a new tank, pump, filter, skid plate, and everything is all in the back of the truck. Unfortunately, I did accidentally puncture my condenser the other day, and it was charged, which is unfortunate because it means the AC system would have worked, and now we're going to have to do the conversion for 134A. So you're going to see all that next video as well, because I have to get that in so I can put the radiator in. So a bunch of stuff coming, but the light is at the end of the tunnel. Hopefully, if everything goes well, maybe another week or so, we'll get this thing running. We'll get it timed, and maybe we'll back it out of the garage. So stick around. Thanks for watching.